Hey everyone, Matthew Griffin here, better known as the Fanatical Futurist, and actually this post caught my eye today. So Joshua X basically has posted that he's created Avatar 2.0. Now, in his language, basically essentially it's a digital representation of himself. So it is a lifelike, authentic, digital human version of himself that speaks like him, sounds like him, looks like him, moves like him. Now, this particular post is impressive because when you actually have a look at organizations like Synthesia, who are one of the leaders in digital human creations, as well as companies like Neon, who are backed by Samsung Ventures and so on and so forth, as you'll see from this is quite good.
Programming. A significant historical anecdote is known as Grace Hopper and the Bug. In 1947, at Harvard University, Rear Admiral Grace Hopper was working on the Mark II computer. One day, the system stopped working.
Now, he says this is a fully digital replica of himself. And as you can tell from the voice, the context, the syntax, the tone is actually, I think, really spot on. You couldn't tell, basically, that it was actually completely digital. And in fact, it's one of the first pieces of content that I've seen that really makes me question whether it is actually true or fake. Now, when we actually have a look at a lot of the comments that are going on, for example, Travis Waters, how much vocal recording data is required to mimic voices exactly? Now, if you have a look at deep learning artificial intelligence algorithms from companies like Baidu, the answer is actually 5 seconds. Even at the top end, it's a minute. When we actually have a look at this, Peter Seberg, if you can do video, then much easier, I guess. Can you scrape my voice off the internet and have your tool getting me to say something that I didn't want to say? Yes. So, for example, you could actually download this YouTube recording, or you could actually just record my voice, and you could actually end up cloning my voice. Now, this actually gets rather interesting later on. Now, here we go, Steve Tate. Yikes, here we go. Another example of technologists getting it wrong with applications that don't benefit us rather than exploit us. Now, on the one hand, this actually opens up new business opportunities. And there are actually people who are selling deep fake versions of themselves and then actually getting licensing and royalty deals when their likenesses are used in adverts, university courses, and so on and so forth. But Steve does actually have a point. Now, when we actually have a look at this, literally it looks like a recipe for disaster and a reason to purge all personal photos and videos on the public web. To be honest, you can never purge all your videos and your data from the web. That's it, so it's too late, Steve. There's so much potential on how AI can benefit humanity, and yet again we're repeating the mistakes of the past. So I'd like to know a little bit more about those details, but I'm guessing that he's actually referring to privacy, and he's absolutely right. Now, when we start actually getting down here, there are a couple of interesting posts. From Nixie, this is all fascinating, but I'm more interested in how this will destroy our fundamental trust in recorded media. Now, when we get to the point where artificial intelligence is able to create authentic, real-life, real-sounding, real-looking content that you don't know is fake, that will destroy trust in media, because I will be able to create any kind of sound, any kind of image, any kind of video, post it up, and you're not going to know whether it's authentic or not. Now, we do actually have a couple of solutions for that. For example, we can actually use encryption on a hardware chip, we can use the blockchain and everything else, so that when I'm actually recording authentic video, for example, from a device like this, then it registers it as authentic. But the vast majority of data, basically, it's estimated by 2030, will actually be generative AI generated. When we have a look at this, do we have any countermeasures in place from Vikram? We do, but they're actually really, really bad. So we do actually have some deepfake detection systems in place already on some of the social networks that actually allow those artificial intelligences that are embedded within social networks to identify flushes in your face. And if they identify flushes in your face, for example, then you're a real human. If your face doesn't flush, you're a digital human. But there are other ways we can actually figure out whether or not we're actually looking at digital human content or not. However, as the tech gets better, as the innovations get better, it's kind of like a game of cat and mouse. Now, here we go. So Barbara, she's got an interesting point. Of course, my skeptical mind immediately rushes to the darkest of scenarios of misusing this for some really bad things. Now, in China, we recently saw a couple of cybercrime groups, a couple of ATP groups, who used deepfake technology, and they took people's photos, they turned them into lifelike digital human representations, a little bit like Joshua has actually done. They then fed those into the social database for the CCP and ended up defrauding the Chinese government of around $94 million. So this is what we call biometric spoofing. Essentially, you could actually take my likeness and even just from a picture, turn it into a high-resolution 3D avatar, which you can then use to con people. Elon Musk is already seeing this actually happen. If you go and have a look at Elon Musk crypto scams on Twitter, you'll see Elon Musk telling you to go and buy into different crypto schemes, which are actually scams. But of course, Elon Musk hasn't said anything that is on these things. So impressive work, nice. Will there be any support for people that purchased an avatar? I mean, obviously this is going to be commercialized, and Joshua has already mentioned that. Now, when we have a look at HeyGem, which I think is Joshua's actual company, they're also starting to sell virtual fashion to go along with your avatar as well. So that sort of takes us into an interesting area when we have a look at the fashion side of things as well, because now we can actually buy digital skins for our avatars, digital clothing, and so on and so forth, which we can then sell on the second-hand market. And we can buy with crypto, and we can store on the Web3 and blockchain technologies. So, Carlos Pena, AI-generated avatar voice clone technology are remarkable. And you've got to bear in mind, basically, that really about 4 years ago, this would have been a really, really bad deepfake. I agree with Shashank. This is looking and sounding almost real. I mean, so for example, what happens when we actually have a look at the use of this technology for anything that has a human in it? So whether it's things like computer courses, lectures, whether it is film production, whether it's advert production, whether it is virtual influencers and digital influencers and so on and so forth. So even though this actually looks like a relatively minor or niche innovation, it actually has the potential to upend the entire influencer community. And then just sort of scanning down, what else have we got? Impressive work, early access, so you can join Joshua's early access programs. Yeah. So this one from Sylvester is actually sort of interesting for a couple of different reasons. I've been speaking about this for years. In the imminent future, professionals will leverage AI-powered virtual representations routinely. Now, a little while ago, I was having conversations on the future of work and the workplace with Alan and Overy, and I said, in the future, one of the things you're going to be able to do is digitally clone yourself. So, for example, you could actually have a real face-to-face interaction with me, the real Futurist, while other people, maybe 1 million other people, I should be so lucky, 1 million other people are actually having conversations with my digital human replica. So Sylvester, actually, you don't know how true that statement actually is. Congratulations. And this is it, really. So Richard obviously thinks it's incredibly dystopian. Yeah, kind of. I actually get that. New level has been reached, etc., etc. Super impressed. I mean, the vast majority of people are actually really sort of on the one hand saying, this is really impressive, but it's really scary. What are the implications from a privacy and a personal perspective, from a criminal perspective as well? There are opportunities and threats with this technology, as there are with any technology. And as you can see just from my little post here, which is now knocking on the 10-minute mark, sorry about that, the comments just go on and on and on. So it's obviously a hot topic, it's on people's minds. Governments aren't really talking about this at all. So let me know what you think in the comments. Would you create a digital avatar of yourself? Would you actually have it selling products on your behalf? What would you do with it? Anyway, take it easy, take care, goodbye.